So I know some of you have been having some fun and doing all that. Anybody go to Hurricane Harbor? I hope not. Oh my gosh. What is it? Holiday in the Park. Anybody do that? It's too cold. You did? Okay. Who likes roller coasters? Let me see that. Likes roller coasters? Yes. Okay. Who is terrified? Terrified of them. Okay. I understand. Been there. Now, those of you that are terrified, I've been there, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Have you ever noticed that whenever you go, people try to make you ride them? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? So, okay. Now, those of you that aren't scared, do you do that? You try to make the scared people ride them? I've noticed this always happened to me when I was in middle school. I was terrified of roller coasters. If they went upside down, it was a no, okay? Because that's not natural. I didn't care what centrifugal force was. You were not getting me to go upside down no matter what. And friends, they will use peer pressure, right? I mean, there'll be pressure, guilt trips. Girls will flirt to try to get you on. They're like, come on. I was like, oh yeah, since you rose your shoulders, now I'm not terrified of death, okay? Okay. Actually, it did work because I had a crush on this girl, and she was like, come on, let's ride. And I'm like, okay. And it was Mr. Freeze, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then we were like halfway, and I was like, yeah! Okay, anyways, but you try to convince your friends to do it, and you don't say like, okay, I had a friend trying to get me to ride Texas Giant before I would ride anything, and this was the old one, the no one died on it, but anyways, the old one, and I wouldn't ride it, and they're like, come on, it's awesome. It like shakes you all around and gives you a headache, and some people even throw up. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. And so, but people try to convince each other to ride. I don't understand why when you're scared. I did get over it, and maybe you someday will, but maybe not. But we do try to convince people to do things we like. Some of you you go to some restaurant, you have some new food or something, and you tell everybody, like, oh my gosh, that's so good, the burrito with the things and all the goodness, okay? And you want everybody else to try it, and you tell your friends about it. Or maybe you watched a really good movie like Star Wars and you're talking about it and I haven't seen it yet. And I'm like, stop talking, okay, because I haven't seen it yet. And you try and tell everybody you got to go see your favorite TV show and you want your friends to watch it because you're watching it, And so we try to get people to do things with us and talk to us or, to experience something with you. And some of you, man, you're passionate about it. Even something, you take a bite of something gross and you're like, oh, try this. Oh, it's nasty. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. But you want people to experience what you just experienced. You want them to be a part of it and do that. And you guys can be pretty passionate about that kind of stuff. And so what I wanted to think about was, what if we were as passionate about letting others know about Christ as we are about wanting them to ride a roller coaster with us or go eat, some food with us or do something like that. And you guys are passionate people. I see it. Like, some of you are passionate about sports. I mean, you watch every game of your team, no matter what, you're going to be there, and you're passionate, or you're passionate about music, or every time your band comes out with something, you'll spend hundreds of dollars to go to her concert. You'll do whatever it is, to be around that thing, or you're passionate about your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You talk about it all the time, and all your friends are like, would you please stop talking about it because we don't care? And you're posting all those pictures on Instagram, and all of us are kind of gagging every time we look at your Instagram account. But, you're really passionate about it, and I'm excited about that, or you're always sharing stuff about that. And as passionate as you can be about things, what we have to share with people is even better than any of that. In fact, the reason you try to get your friend to go to the restaurant with you to eat or to watch the TV show is because you want them to experience what you experienced. You watched it, you laughed so hard, and you're like, oh my gosh, they have to see this. I can't tell you how many times somebody goes, you have to see this picture I found, okay? And then because they want, me to laugh like they laugh. You want your friends to experience what you're experiencing because it's good and you enjoyed it and you want them to. And how much greater is this that you have friends that could experience the life that you have in Jesus in their life? You have friends that have never been in a worship service like you just were. You have friends that have never had the peace of God when they were going through their biggest struggle. You have friends that had a relationship in and they had no hope for their future because they didn't have a God to give them hope. And you have something amazing that you can share. Better than a roller coaster, better than a TV show, better than any of that. And we can share this amazing thing with people. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And so if you brought your Bibles, you can look at Matthew 4. And we're just going to look at this really simple idea. And I want you to see that sharing Christ is a natural thing for a believer, for somebody that follows him. It's a very natural thing. And so we're starting a new year. Does anybody have a New Year's resolution? No? A couple people? Yeah, okay. I tried doing those. I never do them, so I stopped making them. But people do that. I want you to think about this. We're going into a new year, and maybe you could let this be something that you do this year, maybe more than you ever have before. So in Matthew chapter 4, verse 18, Jesus is going along, and he sees a couple guys, and we're going to just pick it up. And it says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter. Most of you have heard of Peter, right? And his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Now, this is their job, okay? They're fishermen. Like some of you have a job. You're a cashier, or you make coffee or whatever, and so that's your job. That's what you do. They were fishermen. This was their job. They did this every day for a living, okay? So they're fishermen. They're out there. They're doing their thing. And Jesus. Now, I want to just say this before I talk about this. Jesus, not the first time they met Jesus, okay? Sometimes I always thought Jesus just walked up to random people and said, hey, follow me. No, they had met before. You can see that in another book of the Bible. But so he goes up to them and he says, come follow me. Now, before we look at the rest of it, I want you to understand something. This is something that if you are a Christian, if you call yourself a disciple, that you have accepted this invitation to follow him. When he says, follow me, that's the invitation that you accepted when you said, hey, I want to make Jesus the Lord of my life. Most of you have made that decision and have made this step to follow him. But I want you to see it didn't just stop with that. He said something was going to happen. He said, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. Which is kind of a weird thing to say, but he was trying to relate to them because they're fishermen, right? He said, I will make you fishers of men. Now, I like to fish. And so, especially when I was younger, I used to fish a lot. And so I would go fishing all the time when I was a kid. And I remember one particular time I was fishing with my sister, okay? And, she was using something that looked, it stuck to the floor. Awesome. Okay, something that looked kind of like this one, okay? You can't see it, but it has 3 hooks. Has anybody ever been fishing before? Yeah, okay, so it has 3 hooks on it that go like in all different directions. And so she was using one of these things, and we were young at the time, very young, or especially her. And so we were fishing, and she was down right by the water, and she was getting ready to cast. And I was back here, and I was tying on a new lure on the mine because I got to get it ready to go. And so she's out here, and she's got the thing all swinging around. And so she goes back like this, right? And the lure goes up in the air and landed right on my head. And then she goes, "Whoa," and it goes, "Yeah," and I said, "Ah," and so there was a lure stuck in my head, okay? And that is not what Jesus meant when he said fishers of men, okay? She may have caught one, but that's not what he meant by fishers of men. He was talking about something a little bit different. And so I want to kind of talk to you about what being a fisher of men is and what he kind of meant by that. And you see, the disciples, these guys that he just talked to, see, they went and they followed Jesus and they saw him and they experienced him. And the things that they experienced, what they saw happen in their lives and in the lives of people around them, when Jesus went to heaven, they just went around and started telling everybody. They started telling everybody what they saw happen, what happened to them and what happened to their friend over here and this guy over here. And they began to tell people everywhere what happened because I don't think they could help it. I mean, Jesus told them to. I don't think he would have had to tell them to. They would have just had to because it was so inside of them that they went out and began to tell everybody what they saw and what they heard. They became witnesses. Has anybody ever told you to be a witness? You need to be a witness for Jesus. And I always thought, that's so weird. I don't know how to do that. I mean, go stand on the table at school and be like, Jesus loves you. And I don't know. And I don't know why I thought that was what witnessing was. But do y'all know what when you go to, if you were to see a crime and then go to a court, you would be a what? A witness. And what you would do would be tell what you saw or what you heard, what you experienced. That's what you would tell. And when we're talking about being a witness, you're sharing what you saw, what you heard. And so I know that some of you, when we think about sharing Christ, some of you have tried it and you're like, didn't work. Some of you are scared to try it because you don't know how. So what we're going to do for the next couple of minutes is I want to help you know how. We're going to make it simple. And we're going to talk about fishing. So if any of you like fishing, you're good to go. If not, well, all right. So here we go. Here's the first thing to help you know how to do it. You have to put bait on your hook. Can you imagine if a guy went out fishing with just the hook? Okay, he just threw the hook in the water. Now, I don't know if you know this, but fish don't usually eat metal, okay? They're not like, tasty metal, okay? So they're not going to bite this, okay? You can fish with this all day. You're not going to catch anything because they don't eat metal. And so you have to put bait on your hook, okay? This is just plastic. It's not real. Oh my gosh, it's a worm in his hand. No, it's plastic, okay? So you have to, I'm not going to even try and put this on here right now. So you have to put bait on there, okay? And then you can catch something, okay? So a lot of you maybe have tried, or some of you maybe have thought, okay, I'm going to go out and share Christ, and you didn't have any bait. You just were like, you didn't have anything ready. See, no fisherman shows up to the pond with his fishing pole and then goes, oh man, I don't have anything to put in there, okay? They came prepared, and I want to help you come prepared to put your bait in the water. Now, in this, there are a bunch of different things that could be bait, and we're going to focus on two, but the first one and the main one is this. Your story is your bait. What Christ has done for you, or maybe your family and friends, is your bait. What you have seen him do, what you've witnessed, that is your bait. Your testimony, some of you might call it that, is your bait. Your salvation story. When Christ helped you with something, that is your bait. So if you're going to do this, you may need to actually prepare what you're going to say. Think about what you're going to say when you go to talk to somebody and you're ready to share. You know, if God has helped you with through a stressful time, that's a great story. If God helped you through your parents' divorce, if he helped you when you felt alone, if you got over something that you were addicted to, if he changed your life in any way, you have a story. And if you're a Christian, he's changed your life in some way. Some of you, it's easy to see. I mean, you were sick and you got healed. You're like, man, that's easy to tell people what happened. You were super stressed out and you're over that. And you can see it. Some of you might need to think about it. But when you can find what your story is, it becomes a powerful tool for you to witness to somebody. Because think about this. You go to somebody and you say, well, let me give you an example of something I've used. I would say, when I was in college, I used to get so stressed out. I mean, it was so stressed out that I couldn't sleep well, my stomach would hurt, and stuff like that. I would just be all the time. My hair started falling out, still got some of that left over right here, and all of that. And then something happened, and everything changed. And then I stopped. That way they're like, what happened? Oh, you want to know? And then I had to go on to tell them about how I began to trust the Lord. And I tell them my story. But you know what? I've thought about that, and I prepared that. And that's one of the ways that I can share Christ with somebody. So you need to put bait on your hook. You need to think about, what is my story? What has God done for me? And think about how you can share that with somebody that doesn't know Christ. Here's the next thing. Put bait on your hook. Put your hook in the water. You show up to the pond, and you're looking at it, you're like, and you just walk around. You ain't never going to catch anything, okay? And some of you have a great story, and you're just walking around, and you never share it with anybody. You actually have to open your mouth and talk sometime. You actually have to make an opportunity to talk to somebody and share with somebody, to put your hook, put your bait in the water. I can tell you another example of something I've done before. Someone was talking about they were going through a breakup. And so and I just said, when I was in high school, I had a really serious relationship, and then it ended, and I was really heartbroken. I didn't know what to do, and it was just one of those things. Just every night, I just felt yucky, and I didn't know how to get over it. And then something happened, and I just stopped again. I like them even go, what happened? And then I told them about a time I went to a worship service, and while I was worshiping, I heard the Lord in my heart say, I've got something in mind for you. I have a plan for you. And from that moment on, I never had to worry about it again. And I share that story with somebody. And here's the great thing, okay? Some of you are afraid. They're going to be like, well, I don't believe in that. Okay, I don't believe that God made you feel better. Okay, no one's going to say that. Well, what if they ask me about the dinosaurs? I don't know about the dinosaurs. You're not talking about the dinosaurs. You can just say, I don't know about the dinosaurs, but I know that I was stressed and now I'm not. I know that I was confused about my life and now I have peace and I know what's going on and I have a future. And so you just sharing your story. It's not about knowing every problem and how to fix everything. It's sharing what God has done for you. And nobody can argue with that. I was so stressed out and now I have peace. No, you don't. That's never going to happen. No one's ever going to say that. You're still stressed out. Okay, no, they're never going to say that. So it's a great way to share your story, and you can't really do it wrong. I mean, maybe, but probably not. I heard about a guy, I don't remember his name, so we'll just make a name up, Joel, okay? And he is now a pastor, but Joel was... he was a drug addict, okay? And he was doing drugs and all that, and he became very suicidal, and he decided he was going to end his life. And he was taking drugs while he was doing this. And so he decided he was going to do it by putting his head in an oven, okay? Which does not sound like a good way. And well, you can tell he was on drugs because it was an electric oven. That would take a really long time. But anyway, so he put his head inside the oven, and as he was in there, the way he tells the story was his head was in the oven, and he began to think about stuff he had heard about God in the past. And while his head was in the oven, he asked Jesus to be his Lord and Savior, and he got saved. And he came out of the oven, and he was so excited because his life changed. He stopped doing drugs. He had hope for his future, and his life was so changed. He went and found one of his friends that he did drugs with, and he told him what happened. He said, and my life is so different now, and I'm over the drugs, I'm over this. And as he was sharing what God had done with him, his other friend that did drugs said, well, I want to get saved too. How do I do it? So he goes over and he opens the oven and he says, stick your head in here. And his friend stuck his head in and he got saved. Luckily, he doesn't still do it that way, but that'd be hilarious, right? We got a bunch of ovens down the sides over here. It's like, you want to get saved? Come stick your head in. Real commitment thing here. All right, so that'd be kind of funny. But you know what? If you just share your story and what Christ did for you, it will mean something to people. And it will make a difference. But you will never catch a fish if you never put the bait in the water. It won't ever happen. And here's the thing about fishing, okay? Sometimes I would go fishing and I would fish for an hour before I caught one thing. And it'd be like this little doinky fish I didn't even care about catching, right? And you fish and you fish and you fish, and sometimes it's really hard and it takes a long time until it catches. But you just keep fishing. And sometimes you may think, well, I asked somebody to come and they didn't come that one time 3 years ago, and I just don't understand. Okay, and you haven't even tried very hard, okay? Some of you really have tried, but you have to keep fishing, keep putting your bait in the water. And here's the last kind of big thing I want to share with you, and that is when the fish when they are hungry, fish, okay? When they're hungry, fish. Now, like I said, sometimes I would go out and I would fish. My grandparents had a pond, and that's where we always fished. So when I went to my grandparents, we'd go out and we'd fish, and sometimes we'd catch almost nothing or even nothing. We'd fish for 2 hours and catch nothing, or sometimes 1 or 2. Then I remember a few times I was inside playing, Super Nintendo. That's what we had back then. Playing Super Nintendo, and from the movie or a game I rented from Blockbuster, which was awesome. And so we were playing, and Blockbuster was a happening thing when I was a kid. So I'm playing that, and my dad had been down fishing and came up and said, hey, the fish are biting like crazy. So I put the thing down, and I went down, and sometimes you could catch every time you cast. You would cast out, catch, cast out, catch every single time. It was pretty fun. So when the fish were biting, I would go. It has to do with the weather and apparently the moon and all this other weird stuff. Like makes a difference on how much fish. Because sometimes they're more hungry when there's certain things going on. And so when they're hungry, you fish. Now, there are times when people that when your friends are hungry, more hungry than others. Okay, now I think that everybody has a hunger inside. It can be a little harder to get to. But sometimes they're like, oh my goodness, I haven't eaten anything in 3 hours. Okay, I'm really hungry. 3 hours, 3 days. That's not very long, 3 hours. It is for my wife. She's pregnant. But anyways, I haven't eaten anything and I'm so hungry. Okay, so, and they're that way about God. And so I want to show you how to know or something to look for to see when people are hungry, okay? And I call it the 3 knots, okay? The 3 knots, okay? Here we go. So the 3 knots. I'm not in church, not going well, and I'm going to explain these, and I do not know what to do. Not in church, not going well, and do not know what to do. Now, I'm going to explain what these are, and you'll go like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, but when you hear somebody say one of these 3 things, You are talking to a hungry person. This is a hungry fish that is ready to bite, okay? It'll probably bite the empty, whatever that is, hook, okay? With no bait, okay? They're hungry, okay? So this is what we're going to learn to do. And we're going to do this as a group, and you're going to see some pretty cool things. We're going to say this. Really? Well, you should go to my church this Wednesday. Anytime you hear somebody say one of the three nots, this is our response. Really? Well, you should go to my church this Wednesday. In fact, why don't you practice saying this with me? Are you ready? Ready? Really? You should go to my church this Sunday. Oh, I forgot well. Okay, I'll add well so we'll all be together. Ready? One more time. Ready? Really? Well, you should go to this Wednesday. Did I say Sunday? I'm just out of it. Okay, so this Wednesday. Now, here's why I say that. Think about this. Let's talk about the first one. Not in church. Now, most of the time your friends aren't going to go, I'm not in church, okay? But this is just an idea to think about. Sometimes, it doesn't happen a lot, and this is probably the one that'll happen the least. God comes up in your conversations at school, and somebody's talking about this or that, and somebody says, oh, I haven't been to church in forever. You hear that? You go, I haven't been to church in forever? Really? Well, you should come to my church this Wednesday. I'm going to be there. You can come with me. They're sitting there and they're like, oh my goodness, my church. I went to church one time. It was so boring. Really? You should come to my church. It's not boring, okay? Or it's less boring, or however you feel about when I talk. I don't know. But so it's really, so this is what I'm saying. When you hear someone say something about church and you realize that they don't go, that's a great opportunity. Or say, I'm just not sure what I think about God. Really? Why don't you come to my church this Wednesday? See, you're looking at an opportunity that's there. There's some fish right there ready to bite. So you take an opportunity. Not going well. This one's probably the biggest one. If you have friends that you talk to on a regular basis, you share with your friends when something's going wrong, right? And sometimes you'll be talking to a friend and they'll say, my girlfriend just broke up with me. My boyfriend just broke up with me. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And you can say, hey, I'm really sorry. You might not go, really? You say, hey, man, I'm really sorry about that. Why don't you come with me to church this Wednesday? Every time I'm there, I find peace. Or when I go there, I find peace. Really, why don't you come to church with me this Wednesday? So you hear a friend and they're talking about how stressed they are about school and they just feel like they can't ever get ahead and like everything's a mess. And you hear that things aren't going well. And you say, hey, I'm really sorry about that. Why don't you come to church with me this Wednesday? It makes a difference in my life. That's not hard to do. And if you'll start to listen for this and if you'll make an effort, you're going to find hungry people. I don't know what to do. It's really close to the other one, the second one. But you're talking to somebody, and they say, I cannot figure out what to do with college. I don't know if I should go here, if I should go there. I don't know. Should I break up with her? Should I stay with her? Should I do this? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You know what? You should come to church with me this Wednesday. God has helped me answer a lot of questions I had. And you take an opportunity, you find a person that is hungry, and you share with them. And you say, let's say it one more time. Can we do it one more time? Ready? Really? Well, you should go to my church yeah, there it is. And you should come to my church this Wednesday. And if you'll use it, that's some simple bait. Now, here's the other one. We kind of got into it. You've got your story and you've got our youth group. And those are two great tools, bait, if you want to call it that you can use to reach out to a person. Now, we work really hard here. Me, the worship team, a lot of other students and adult workers, and making this a place on Wednesday night where you can feel comfortable bringing your friend and know it's not going to be weird or it's not going to be like too long. It's going to be a nice place where you can bring them and you know they're going to get ministered to. And we work really hard to keep it that way, to keep it a place where new people can come and see a change or see something that they haven't experienced before. Now, don't be weird about this. Now, this is what I mean. And don't think it's weird. Maybe that would be a better thing to say. If your friend is really hungry and they go, man, I haven't eaten all day. I'm so hungry. And you said, really? Why don't you come to lunch with me? That's not weird, is it? And it's not weird for you to say, hey, I want to go see this movie. Will you come? That's not weird, is it? Why do we think it's weird to invite people to come with us to our youth group, to our church? And what do you think is going to happen? You're at lunch and it's like, hey, I'm going to church tonight. You want to come? What? You putting your religion on me, you Christian? Get out of my face. That has never happened, okay? And it's not going to, especially when you're talking to a friend, okay? That's not going to happen. And they might say, no, I can't come this week. I'll ask them again next week. Just keep asking them until they get tired of you asking, and they go, oh, come, just like you'll stop asking me, okay? And so I want you to use this bait all the time if you can, but sometimes we do something to help you have extra bait. Like this is the good stuff, the stink bait, okay? Actually, that's for catfish. This actually right here, this is my favorite. This is called a MEPS, and y'all don't care about anything, but whenever the fish weren't biting, we would get one of these, okay? This little thing, it looks so stupid, but anytime I put this on the hook, on there, I like to fish with a bunch of other stuff. I was going to show you that one, but I can't get it out of the carpet. But I like to fish with other stuff because they all act different in the water, but this one, they always catch. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're hungry or not, they'll come after this one, okay? And so I want, every now and then we give you baits, okay, that you can use to help catch somebody. And so, for example, next Wednesday, we're having ice cream floats. Okay. Now, look, 2 months ago or 3 months ago, we did pretzels. We had 15 people come for the first time just for pretzels, okay, and for bait. And some of them have been coming ever since, okay? Some of them got saved, okay? It was an amazing thing. And so this is simple bait for you. Now, I want you to understand something. When we do a float night, it is not because I want you to have floats, okay? It is, you can go make a float at home. I don't care about that, okay? So this is for you to use as bait, okay? If you came on the pretzel night, it was bait, okay? We wanted you here. We cared enough about you. We're going to buy you some free food, okay? So this is a thing for you to use to get your friends to come. You just say, hey, we're having floats at my youth group tonight. You should come. It's fun. Now, that's not weird, is it? We make talking about Jesus this weird, creepy thing where I have to know everything about the Bible, and we think, well, what if this happens, and what if they say no, and what if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to, and what if they get mad, and what if this? How about this? What if nobody ever had the courage to talk to your friend, and they died without ever hearing about that and didn't get to go to heaven? What about that? What if nobody ever talked to them, and so they had to go through their life stressed out, never having the peace that you have because no one would share Christ with them? What if they had to go through heartache and breakups without the hope of Jesus in their life? Now that would be sad. That's a what if you should think about. So let's be people that go after Christ, that share Christ with him, that with others, that get past that stuff. I was talking to Alex, and it's unfortunate she couldn't make it tonight because I'm going to talk about her. So many of you know Alex. She's one that's like this tall, and she's really awesome. And so she started coming just a few months ago. Actually, it was dating series last year, so I guess it's February, so a great time also to invite friends. People want to come hear about that stuff. So she started coming, and I asked her, I said, what made you come the first time? Because I'm always curious why they come. She goes, well, Victoria, where's she at? Victoria, I can't find you. Wave, where are you at? Is this not helping you see me? I don't understand. Okay. Victoria and Matt, I can't find anybody. I have a light in my face. There he is. Okay. Victoria and Matt apparently were sitting at lunch talking about our youth group. I don't know what they were talking about. Maybe it was gym night, maybe it was a service, maybe it was worship. I don't know what they were talking about. They were just talking, and she said she was sitting between them, and they were talking about our youth group, and she was like, can I go? and all they did was just put some bait out there, threw some stuff out there. So this was talking about being normal people, talking about something that they enjoy and something that has made an impact in their life, and it made someone want to come, and she's been a part of our youth group ever since. And God has dramatically changed her life, and she would tell you that because two friends were sitting there talking about youth group. Some of you, if you go to school with somebody in this room, okay, and you have friends together that don't go to church, this is what you need to do. You need to get a plan, okay, a game plan, and like maybe you're around that friend, you give each other the signal, you know, and then you'd be like, so, hey, wasn't gym night really fun? And then you just start talking about the youth group in front of them. And then they say, you know, you can be like, oh, yeah, and then we're having that thing on this night. And just don't say what it is. And they'll be like, what are y'all talking about? Well, hey, really? No, that doesn't make any sense. What are y'all talking about? Oh, we're just our youth group. It's really fun. You should come with us this Wednesday. That's a really important thing to put a time on it. But you should come with us this Wednesday. And just make opportunities. Like make the fish hungry if you can. But make it something that you go after. Because I want to tell you something. There is nothing more exciting than seeing a friend come because you asked them to come have a float. And then they come back. And then one day we have a service where it really connects with them. And you watch them walk to the side or to the back and ask Jesus to come into their heart. And then you see them a few weeks later get baptized. And you know, and they know, that if you would have never asked them to come that time, that wouldn't happen. And you don't even know how far that could go. I mean, just think about it. They get saved, and they start to live their life for Jesus. Then they get older, and they find someone, and they get married, and they have kids. And those kids now have a father or a mother that knows Jesus because you said, hey, we're having ice cream float. You should come. What? That's crazy. Or they invite another friend, and this is what's really crazy, okay? And we're not able, this is the holidays, you know how that goes. But Victoria here, I'm not going to make everybody stand, but let me just see. If Victoria invited you, and I know most of them aren't here tonight, raise your hand. Let me just see. If Victoria invited you, okay, 1, 2, right. And then I guess it's really hard to show it tonight, but see, she invited them and a couple others, and then they invited more. In fact, one Wednesday night, we had like 20-something people here from people that she invited, him and some others, that she invited, and they invited, and they invited. Just because one person said, hey, would you invite? And then it goes. And you'd be shocked at what will happen if you will put some bait on your hook and put the hook in the water. In other words, if you will come up with a plan and you will decide to do it and begin to talk, you'll see lives change because you made a decision to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to pray. And I want you to begin to pray for a specific person or maybe 2 or 3 people. And think, I'm going to invite them. I'm going to share my story with them and begin to think about it and pray about it and ask God to open their heart, make them hungry so that we can share. What we're going to do is we're going to close and we're going to have a short time of prayer. And during this time, if you need prayer for anything that's going on in your life, there's going to be people over there and over there to pray with you. Anything that's going on in your life, you can go for prayer. And as we're doing that, I would ask everybody to begin to pray for a friend that you want to see get to know Jesus. And if you have someone specific you want to pray for, you can go pray with one of the people on the sides also for that. Let's close our eyes for a moment and tune everyone else out and just look in our hearts and just begin to ask God, what do you want me to do? How can I do this? How can I share for you? Father, I pray that you would give every young person here the courage to go out and let people know about you, to share what you have done for them, to let others experience the great things that they've experienced. I pray that you would give them the words to say. In Jesus' name.